All right, here we go. Please subscribe to the channel. Please.
Hey guys, YouTube's got an algorithm and it really help us out a lot if you could like, comment, and subscribe. This is how we can get more information out to more people and share the message of Toronto real estate.
In
Thanks.
that order, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the damn bell. That I think
Put
you
up a
told me.
sign for a week and then took it down.
Like with his name on it, or like development
he's an
site, or
agent. Yeah, it's for sale sign.
for 4 million.
He just put up a for sale sign. That's it. Got no calls, took it down, said, okay.
I need
Nobody
TK.
stops.
I am letting Steven in. I am coming about. There he is. Steven.
Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh,
I'm good.
good. Everything's working beautifully. Look at that.
Awesome. He's clear. He's got some good equipment on his end.
He's got headphones. Hey? He's got like
you can tell this is not his first Zoom call.
This is not.
I came prepared.
He came prepared. Well, I mean, he is a technology guy, technically.
He is much better than us, I can guarantee you, in that space.
On many levels. Well, welcome to the show, sir. Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Good
Thanks
morning.
For joining us, Stephen. Not sure if you've kind of got familiar with our show or not, but I remember who was it on the show that we saw Stephen
Scrinko, Jordon.
Yes.
Pre-condo.
So, yeah, pre-condo. So we saw how creative some of the stuff that you were doing was, and your philanthropic, disposition of it, which is great. You're out there, you're doing this out of passion and love, and we like that. So we wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff. Really cool. I had no idea. I thought he was using, you know that company Ratio City? Have you heard of those guys?
I do, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I saw it, I bet TK that he was just using Ratio City, which I probably shouldn't say, but I'm not the biggest fan of that thing. But what you're doing looks super cool. I didn't realize it was more of a passion project than anything. But you know what was really interesting? Can we go back like a little while here? Because there's a little backstory on his website that's kind of cute. How old are you now?
I'm 25.
25. Man, you're only 25? That's not even fair. Okay. So he's 25. So half his life ago, he started doing this out of like cardboard, like as a kid. He just started modeling the city of Toronto with cardboard and tape. And you know what? There's not too many places where that would be considered super cool, but you found one.
That's right.
Awesome.
And I'll bet you a lot of people watching will think it's pretty super cool. But for a 12-year-old, like you were getting down to scale, right? Like you were doing a pretty serious job. Let me see if I can put this up on the screen here. I know I had it. I put it aside. I don't know what I'm actually looking at here, so maybe you can tell us. Can you see what's up on my screen right now?
No, we're getting it.
Yes, I can, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not what I wanted to show. That's your super impressive current work. So can you see that I overlay it properly? Model making. You see this picture here? Did I screw it up?
I see the website homepage.
Oh, my goodness gracious. You see, this is a very professional show.
Yeah,
and we like to keep it that way. Okay.
On the tech side, we don't want to get too far ahead because then, we might lose our sponsors.
Yes.
So we got to keep it low key.
What am I doing here? Okay, hold on. There we go. Share screen. And I'm pretty sure I put it here now. Okay, now I got it. I'll have to edit that out, I guess. So model making. Look at this. Is this an actual picture of what you did when you were 12?
That's right. Yeah. So
14,
this is
14, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So when I was a teenager, this was another passion project of mine, building a scale model of the city. At the time, 3D printing, I guess, was in its very early stages, or at least not readily available to most people, and certainly out of my budget. So I had to make do with what I can, and this is one of those things that kind of spiraled out of it.
Wow,
that's incredible.
Like, look at the
I'm looking at that like this is all done through some sort of application, right? Like that is amazing.
No,
You're obviously, got that architectural intellect, like that's clearly what is what's going on here.
so what's the
And that was
background?
all just, yeah, exactly. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how that started, how you figured out that you liked building shit out of cardboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this kind of goes way back. From a young age, I've always been interested in cities, in development, in construction, in tall buildings, and also 3D models. So, aside from the cardboard model that you see, you can kind of see a progression there into the 3D modeling work that I do as well. So yeah, I guess just kind of a brief introduction about myself. So currently, I produce graphics, 3D models, and visualizations of urban development here in Toronto. And aside from that, you may have come across some of my work on Twitter at Future Model TO, which is a brand account that I started last year.
So tell us about
So you're
that.
doing this. So you have a business that's doing this for people, or right now this is passion. Like, where do you stand right now with that?
Yeah, so I guess in many ways it's still very much a hobby, but as you mentioned, you had a guest on the show. His name is Jordon Scrinko from Condo. So earlier on this year, he got in touch with me and expressed interest in using the models not just for his video content, but for also his client presentations as well. So from there, I definitely got more interest in the model, not just in real estate applications, but in other applications as well. So yeah, so I guess that's kind of the story behind it. So I would say it's also become a part-time business.
Wow, I love it.
Great.
Right now, I'm actually in control of this thing. Steven was kind enough to share the file with me. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. Like this for me is just so amazing. So what we're
So
looking
I'm the
at right
layman.
now, so blue is under construction currently. Pink is in for an application with the city, and the gray is currently built, I believe.
Yep,
Love
that's
it.
right.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So this is stuff that's currently in application. So based on how long it takes the city to process things, I would say the city will look like this in 3,200 years. Is that would you say that sounds realistic?
That's a interesting estimate, but yeah, you're absolutely right. The applications certainly take a while from start to finish. A lot of changes happen along the way, but this is a good way to fast track that visual to get an idea of how much development is going on in the city. And the model that you have there, that's just the downtown core. There's a lot of different pockets throughout the city that are also experiencing tremendous growth. So it's certainly fascinating, and I would definitely say we're in a unique place to see this amount of growth in such a short period of time.
Well, I'm glad you said that because one of the we like to talk about what's going on in the news generally on the show in real estate, and one thing that came up this week is, I mean, every year they come up with this list of cranes and how many cranes are in how many cities, right? And I thought that this would be perfect to talk about with you because I mean you're basically tracking current cranes and future crane uh, needs, I guess, in the city, right? And so what it's saying here is that we have 208 right now. And I remember over the last few months we've been talking like 125, which I guess was last year's report. That's an insane. I mean, how did you read this article? Do you know?
Yeah, so the article definitely has been making its way around the news. So I guess there's a bit of a gray area there. The index, they have certain criteria in terms of what they define as a crane. I believe in the index they mentioned that for example New York City only has 10, but from my understanding, that's certainly underestimate. And I believe one of the reasons is New York City has certain stricter regulations over the use of tower cranes, so they may have other cranes in operation. But I guess the point of the article, regardless, is to just highlight how much development is concentrated here in Toronto. You know, we are North America's fastest growing city, so it is not surprising that we have an insane amount of cranes on our skyline. You just have to look out your window and see that for yourself.
So Stephen, what you're saying is that the article is making a point that may or may not be exaggerated from the headline, right? That they're trying to basically say, they're trying to prove the point, which is what you're saying, but in their the thesis, it sounds like, oh my gosh, wow, look at how many cranes we've got, and nobody else has any. Everyone else must be stalled. But that's a really good point. What you said about New York is right. They could have different types of cranes. They could have different types of construction going on right now where they're just not counting that. Yet I love when people tell me how Canada is the #1 country in the world, or Toronto's the #1 city. Like, it's just like, Toronto's the #1 city. Like,
based
hey,
on what? Yeah.
Based on what? Who's asking? What are those metrics? But I think in Canada we're very proud. I think that there's not a lot of national pride that is. They always talk about how proud Americans are and stuff like that. But I think Canadians are more proud than any other country in the world, and we really, really, really hang on to the information that we want to hang on to in order to prove that.
We have an inferiority complex because we're little.
We won World War II. If you guys have ever asked anybody, that was our war, like, totally.
But 100%. Hold on a sec. I mean, we do have an incredible amount of construction going on compared to most places.
100%.
Like,
yes. And we need it.
That's the crazy thing, is that we need more, and we're like light years ahead of every other city combined, and we're not even at like the right pace right now.
Yeah.
Right?
And we are doing well, like, with even in the immigration, like, we've all been talking about this for the last year now, right? Obviously, Stephen, you seem like you're well read in the real estate news and everything else too. So they're talking about immigration, 400,000 target and all that. They're doing a really good job right now. Like, we've got, just to be able to hit that target, they're basically putting express entry on 90,000 people already here, temporary workers, students, stuff like that. Like, they're just saying, hey, what's the fastest way to hit that target possible, right? Like, how can we show people that for once the government's going to do exactly what we say we're going to do? And they're just saying, well, hey, these 90,000 people, they're already here.
They're already here. We can count that.
Let's just give them PR cards, and now we're going to have the totals that we need. So they're doing a good job. And those people who are temporary or are students who are, again, it's a good group of people. One, they're working, and it's a class of workers that we need, services and stuff like that. And the other part is educated people. You have to be graduated from a Canadian institution, and now you're going to be granted the express entry as well too. So valuable members of the economy, right? So they need places to live.
But they're already here.
But they're renting because they're like, I don't know if I'm going to be here for very long, right? Would you buy if you're like, hey, the government is only going to allow me to stay here for 6 months, right?
But they're already here. They're not immigrants right now. They're here. Like, we need 400,000 more people per year, not just taking people from this column and putting them into this column. That doesn't boost the economy. But that doesn't change anything. It just changes where
people's mindset changes. Why are we arguing? People
no, but
people are going to spend more money and buy more real estate.
Nothing. It's not changing
if they're
anything.
Committed to staying to a country for permanence.
But that doesn't change anything. But you know what's crazy? If we actually do start letting all these people in, and we do start constructing at a pace to kind of keep up with it, can you draw that many buildings for your model quick enough?
Well, I guess time will tell. It certainly depends if I have the time on my hands. One of the benefits of going into lockdown last year was me reopening this file, this model, and updating it and making refinements, and then also being able to start up the Twitter. So I guess, time will tell.
You've made it to the big leagues now, the Toronto Real Estate Show.
Exactly.
The pink buildings, okay? Walk us through that process. Who makes it into the pink building category and who doesn't? Because there's a lot of proposals that don't go anywhere. So how do you decipher?
Yeah, so at least the bulk of the development that you see in this model that's highlighted in pink or blue, it's predominantly going to be high rise. So you're not going to see single story attached housing as part of this graphic. It's more focused on multi-unit residential or commercial. So within this graphic, how the process works. So as as developers submit their application to the city, they have to publish those documents that are available to the public. So what I've been able to do is download those architectural plans, download those planning reports, and convert those 2D drawings into 3D models.
Is that how
So
you're
that's
doing
essentially,
it?
yep,
You're taking it. So you're taking the PDF off of the government website, and then you're actually inputting everything.
that's right. So
Holy.
yeah, so more recently, actually, some developments include the 3D files. Now, it's a rare instance, but in that case, sometimes it's as easy as just importing it into the model. But oftentimes, the models themselves are coming directly from the architects and they're highly complex. So there is an element of having to scale that down in order to work in the context of this model.
Oh,
This should be a mandatory part of the application, right? Is to have that building, wherever it is, fit into your model to show, because I know that the 3D guys do it too, but I don't really trust the developers guys when they're saying what buildings are going to look like, and all their reports and stuff like that too. Like, is it really the big picture? I think because you're a third party and that this could be like one shared file, and I'm not in the development space, that's why this idea sounds so great. When they do start putting in their information, they plug it into the building. No one can deny, okay, that's exactly where the building's going to stand, and that's what it's going to look like amongst the other proposals.
well, what I noticed was super cool, and that's just from my perspective, was that you started pinpointing potential development sites. So you have like this unique perspective, aerial perspective, where I guess you're easily able to pinpoint what should be a high-rise building, right? So how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I guess maybe you're touching on some of the other work on my website as well. So one of the cool things that the model allows me to do is, like you mentioned, visualize areas that could be potentially upzoned for development in the future. We certainly see in the financial district, historically, where a lot of the tall buildings have been, space has become a lot more limited. I'd still say for most parts of the downtown core, we're definitely not as constrained for space as Manhattan, for example, but there are certainly locations where height and density are being encouraged by the city, and we're also seeing that being realized with these development proposals. So one of those areas is, of course, Yonge and Bloor, where we have currently the tallest building under construction there at the One. And we're definitely seeing that height move toward the entertainment district, and also south along Yonge Street with the One Yonge development.
And so this is all fanboy knowledge. You're not a planner. You didn't go to school for any of this stuff, or did you?
Yeah, so I went to York. I did a Bachelor of Environmental Studies there. But in terms of planning policy, I'm definitely not the expert on that front. But aside from that, the 3D models and graphics, I can definitely shed some light into that.
Definitely. Now, since you've had this model laid out, you said that you brought it back to life. Like, you had it from how many years ago did you sort of make it initially?
Yeah, so the model that you see here, that actually started in I guess late 2017. So at the time, it was more for designing my own projects and providing context for that. So, as you're designing in SketchUp, it's nice to show the city, and not just the city as it exists today, but with all the development proposals as well. So an easy way of doing that is to import the model from SketchUp into Google Earth, because Google Earth has their terrain imagery. Now, the problem with that is, well, firstly, the imagery is not always up to date. I believe Google updates it every other year. And aside from that, you're not going to get under construction and proposed developments. So as designers and planners know, when you design projects, it's important that you take that future context into consideration. So that's essentially the story behind that. And with once I had this base layer model, I figured, what are the other applications of that? And one of them were the graphics that you see up on my Twitter. So these are ways that, others can visualize this development, and hopefully by shedding light into what's happening in our city, it can fuel also a positive discussion about the city's future. So these are some other applications that the model can be used for.
So 2017, you put it together, you completed it, I guess, right? Like you got to the point where you had really done as many details as you could find. And then because of the pandemic, you're sitting at home a lot more. You thought, hey, how can I expand what I've already built? And then so maybe you went into things that were just proposed as well, and not just under construction, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's really about updating what has happened since that period. I believe I left it early 2018, left it for a few years, and when I revisited it, there was a lot of new developments that needed to be modeled, and also expansion of the geographic area. I believe at the time I got up to around Bloor Street, and as you can see in this model, it's expanded slightly beyond those boundaries, but
What about
also
Scarborough?
yeah. So I've also modeled Midtown Toronto. So those are areas like Yonge and St. Clair, Yonge and Eglinton. And there's also other models in existence as well. But for the most part, what you see here is focused on downtown and Midtown. But currently, I am exploring modeling development in North York as well, along Yonge Street.
Kingston Road, Scarborough.
Yeah, Kingston Road, Scarborough. I think that's a really good
Kingston Road.
next
Please.
big boom, right?
Please.
They can really kind of see.
So look
Yeah,
at
that's
this.
right.
See what the big development will be.
Yep.
Look at this. This is Orca, right? Over the railroad tracks. Have you heard of this thing, TK? This thing's crazy. Look at all this. This is on top of the railroad tracks.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah.
We talked about that
about that
before.
before.
This is the
Yeah.
the well. Just crazy. Look at this. Unbelievable.
Now, when you were inputting the pink buildings and then they became blue buildings, did you notice that their height was the same, or was it reduced?
Do you update
increased?
them if they for what they get approved for?
Yeah, so along the way, especially with the pink buildings, there's definitely a number of changes that happen from the time it's proposed to the time that it starts construction. So, like Darryl mentioned, one of those things is increases or decreases to height. So as those updates come along, I do try to stay on top of that. Some of the models take a bit longer than others, but for the most part, they are updated, especially as the design changes as well. So as they turn from pink to blue, you might see some changes along those lines as well.
So let's segue into something else, affordability right now, because you're a young man in the city of Toronto. You're a perfect candidate for this discussion because more people on the show are generally a lot older than you and don't have this perspective. So, what's it like being 25 years old and, wanting to own the McMansion in Toronto? What's your situation? What do you think about this? Are you one of the 40 or 50 or 70%, depending on which article you read, that have given up on the potential of home ownership in the city of Toronto?
Yeah, so that's certainly I guess a hot topic that's on the minds of a lot of people right now. I would say most younger people are going to be renting condos, and that's going to be the situation moving forward. But I think that this idea of living in condos and living in smaller spaces is something that's going to be more widespread and definitely adopted by more people. If you look at cities like New York, Tokyo, living in smaller high-rise buildings is certainly the norm, and even renting is definitely something that more and more people are going to be having to depend upon. So I guess this idea of home ownership, it's certainly changing as we see prices head to the moon in the city. Affordability is definitely going to be I guess a hot topic moving forward.
And so for you,
So you mean you're not willing to slave away the rest of your life to pay off a mortgage at $1.2 million? That doesn't appeal to you?
Well, I guess it's something that depends on person to person, but yeah, definitely. Oh, I believe
It's hard to digest that, right? And say, do I really want to be in debt my entire life, right? And to go into home ownership. Like Darryl and I, Darryl's a couple years older than me, but you know, we're going in the market, and you know, you're talking about $200,000-$300,000 houses as an entry level, right? You can't even get a condo anymore at 200,000-300,000.
I bought.
Right? What are you going to pay? Going to be 500,000 maybe for something like decent? It's a lot of money to start off at in your 20s, right? On your own.
And you're not paying cash. But the perspective of your generation, like, what about your friends, the people that you interact with that are in similar age bracket? Like, are most people just like, yeah, I mean, I guess we're gonna have to rent, and that's fine by me. Yeah, has the mentality kind of changed in your generation where it's not? I know my generation thinks renting is like pissing money away, paying somebody else's mortgage. You're an idiot. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, well, I guess, within my circles, all my friends are either renting or living at home. I think with the pandemic as well, a lot of friends have left their downtown condos and moved back in with their parents. Certainly a way to save on costs as well. But as a lot of your guests, I'm sure have discussed, getting into the downtown market, at least on the lease, over the past year has certainly been advantageous, especially with dropping prices. So, yeah, it definitely depends on your mindset and your current financial situation. If you're looking to get into housing long term.
So now we're hearing in the news that like rental prices are starting to creep up again in some pockets, and some landlords are saying we never dropped our prices. We have a good building, and not very many people left, and anybody that was empty, we raise prices. Are some people that starting to think time to move back out again? I better get a downtown apartment or condo before the prices start to jump again.
Yeah, that's certainly not unheard of, and we are seeing the results of that as well. Like you mentioned, prices are starting to creep back up again, especially in the downtown, as people are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with the COVID situation, and looking forward to moving back into the downtown core and going back to work there as well.
We just to take a quick little side note here, part of our strategy for landlords has been to capitalize on getting somebody in at the lower rental prices, but trying to have the rent go back up to pre-pandemic prices afterwards by structuring the lease a certain way. And so I just don't do a lot of leases anymore. I don't do any leases anymore. So I hadn't really had any experience in this environment until this week, where I had to give some advice to someone. So I had to figure out how to get that actual lease structured. And so here's the Residential Tenancies Act. So just for anybody listening, this is what you're allowed to do for rental discounts. So you can do 3 months of free rent in any 12-month period, but they have to be given in full rent-free periods. A total discount up to 1 month's rent given any time over the first 8 months of a 12-month period. Total discount of up to 1 month rent in any time over the first 7 months, plus up to 1 month's rent-free period in the next 5 months after that. I know this is confusing. Or a discount of no more than 2% for rent being paid earlier on time, which means you can't say I was getting $3,500 a month rent before, I'll charge you $2,500, and at the end of the lease, we'll go back up to $3,500, or you can go and find a new place. So, that will not be held up.
But what is it saying? You can do 3 free months?
You can do 3 months rent free, but they have to be full month rent discount. So it means the tenant has to agree to paying the $3,500. And some point during those 12 months, he gets a whole, or she gets a whole entire month of rent free. Right?
Can you take different than what you wrote? Like, can you write down a lease and then have like a side agreement where you
can, but when the tenant wants to at the end of the 12 months and says, hey, my landlord's trying to skirt the rules, and this is how he structured it to try to make it benefit him, so that at the end of my lease he wants me paying this $3,500. I don't want to be the landlord going to the tribunal and getting the book thrown at me in that case. So unfortunately, your hands are tied. You got to accept the lower rent amount that the market is giving today, and you can apply the rental discounts and try to negotiate the best deal you can. But at the end of the day, the guys in the financial district, I don't know what areas, Stephen, some of the people that have been renting, but if you go into the heart of the city, the financial district, it's bad. It's 25%,
down?
Discounts.
Wow. Very temporary. Very temporary. Bottom is here.
So I think that students are going to come up.
We called it a few weeks ago. Bottom
students
rental.
are coming back. Yeah.
Everybody's gonna
Young
start
people
coming
coming
back.
back. They're living at home with their parents, and they're saying, "This is.
This.
I know why I left.
Yeah.
I'm going back downtown. This is. Once the bars and the nightclubs and entertainment stuff opens up again, right?
Can you imagine moving out and then moving back in and being told to clean your room and like make your bed?
I'm 25, Mom.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
I'm out of here. Oh
Right?
crap.
So one of the things, Stephen, we talked about, which I think is great, and I want your insight into this. What I've noticed is that the generation today, which I'm 35, I'm not that much older, but it wasn't happening when I was young, are much more industrial. Like I feel like the people who are younger are doing these little side jobs and side hustles, and they're looking at all sorts of creative ways to get into real estate, to invest in stocks, to figure out a business plan that's going to make them, not be in the rat race, like way more because of the internet and social media, I believe, than my generation was and Darryl's generation. So elaborate on that. Have you noticed that? Have you seen all your friends are much more into sort of creative income sources and stuff like that? Is that going on?
So like not careers, you're saying?
Not relying on the 9 to 5, 40-year pension.
Yeah.
That stuff doesn't interest, I think, people in their 20s.
Well, yeah, I mean, look no further than what we've seen, I guess, in the States, also in Canada, with the amount of new users that are on platforms like Robinhood, right? More people are looking to invest, especially when interest rates have been so low. So I believe that that has been the mindset of a lot younger people. If you can't get into real estate, you've got to put your money elsewhere. So I believe, yeah, it's definitely a shifting mindset, and especially now that it's a lot easier with the information that's available and technology, it's certainly probably more prevalent with this generation now.
So do you find that a lot of your friends don't have jobs? Like,
No,
or do they have
I wouldn't
jobs?
say, yeah, I wouldn't say that, but it's
side hustles, Darryl. They're not.
Yeah,
they're
so
not homeless.
TK was talking about like you mentioned things you do on the side.
I don't mean homeless. I mean like internet entrepreneurs versus sitting working for corporate whatever. Right? So are more people, like thinking about moving to Puerto Plata and, having a Shopify store, or are people, working for the bank or Walmart or wherever the hell?
I know what you're saying, Darryl. And Stephen, I mean, I'm sure we can look no further than you yourself.
Right.
You've got, you've got all this stuff going on that you're doing. And I'm sure that you've got a vision of where you're going to go with this 3D modeling, and that you're hoping that it takes off and the big players out there can see just how much value there is, and obviously your skill set and everything else too. So you're probably a great example of how somebody who didn't go to school for, I guess this would be an architectural course of some sort, right? That they offer at different universities, didn't even go to school for that, but because it was in your wheelhouse, you were already, doing it probably with more hours inputted than most people who did go to school for it. So that's a great example already there. But I just want to say, like, when I was 25, it was cool to be going to, the bars or the clubs, and to have, things showing off materialistic stuff and everything else too. I'm sure that that's still going on, but I just hear a lot more chatter, maybe because I'm exposed to social media and stuff too, where people really are focused on how to, set themselves up financially, right? Financial literacy and stuff like that too. I think that is a big part of the culture, and I'm really excited because I think that the current culture that we have, the groups or the generation that we have, are going to put us in a better position globally and within government and everything else than any other generation before. And I think a lot of people would disagree with me on that.
I agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
I think there'll be, you know what's great? When people text you or email you and they're like tough guys, and they're like, they're very different than they would be in person because they're behind the veil of a phone.
Yeah.
That's what's going to lead to the revolution. it's going to be an online revolution by this generation where they just say, you know what, like we're not using banks anymore. We're using Bitcoin. Go F yourself, right? We're not buying that real estate unless there's an NFT attached to it because I don't want to deal with the mortgage brokers and I don't want to deal with the realtors and all this crap. And I don't, you know, like they're going to eliminate all the layers of bullshit. They're going to vote with like a certified vote somehow online. And what's amazing is that this generation will be able to and is currently able to, you know, like there's so much bureaucracy in our generation right now, in our society, so much bureaucracy. Everything takes so much time. We're in an age where literally we can shift on a dime. Everybody can make a decision instantly, certified, quantified, boom. Everybody says, let's go this way now, and it can start to happen. We can see massive, crazy change, but like, we're just my generation's just waiting for like the boomers to get the fuck out of the way, and we're already fat and lazy, so we're not gonna do a damn thing other than complain, right? Your generation, TK, is kind of set in its ways already. You're starting to get fat and lazy, and you're starting to get older, and like, you know, what
we believe the in-person boots on the ground way is still the most effective way because we're brainwashed into that.
Right. And Steven's generation is going to buy a condo by pressing a button, not give a crap. They're going to trade it to the next guy in 2 weeks, make 20 grand, right?
What are you talking about?
And they're just going to be like,
I'll write a code for that. Why are you even doing that?
Why is this guy president of the country still or prime minister? Like, this guy's an idiot. Let's change him. Boom.
Yeah, why do we have one president? This is stupid. Let's just have like a bunch of people who are all going to vote on this so that we can't have some jerk pushing the button at the wrong time. It all makes sense. I really believe in the younger generation because I'm witnessing it, and I'm like, these guys are just way smarter than me. They're better. They're better human beings than I am. They care more about the environment. They care more about people. They care more about everything than what I witnessed.
And what we actually care. And more importantly, and I think the most important thing going on right now, and I think that your generation is probably a big factor in this, TREB, to drop master bedroom term, replace with primary in coming months. Like, with everything going on, this is news, right? And because you're our guest, Stephen, we'll let you lead on this topic. What do you think about the term master bedroom being dropped by TREB?
Well, I actually did see that headline as well. I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that, I have to admit. I think there are certainly more important issues to be dealing with at the moment, but I'll leave it at that.
I'm glad you said that. So what is more important? Maybe something like Canada's property bubble is now so large, a soft landing would take 19 years. So does anybody really think like something's going to change with the market? Like, do people really think that there isn't strings pulling this thing in a direction? TK, I can see your face.
Okay.
What does Steven's generation
point
think?
Something out?
Is it manipulated, the real estate market, or is it a free-flowing capital market? TK still seems to be fooled.
No, Stephen, what do you think? Do you think the government is manipulating the market in order to go in a direction that they see fit for the population?
Well, I'm probably not the best authority to be speaking on that, so I guess I'll leave it at that.
Stephen is pleading the fifth on that. What country are we in?
Daryl's on one end of the spectrum. I'm on the other end, right? Where, you know, either way, it doesn't matter because neither one of us, Daryl nor I, have the power to do anything about it. But
no, and I'm too lazy. I'm not going to do anything. I promise.
I wanted to see. I wanted to see this. I wanted to see how many bankruptcies, consumer proposals, and insolvencies have been happening in 2021, and how does it compare to last year? Just because in order, like, people are talking to me about this and asking me questions. And I'm a real estate agent, so they're saying, you know, in the next 3 months, what do we see and all this stuff. So it's important for me to know about the upcoming budget and everything else. So I'm looking at bankruptcies are down 35%, something like that, year over year. I'm looking at consumer proposals are down 38%
year over year, right? Compared to 2020.
Year over year compared. So February 2021 compared to February 2020, it was down around those numbers. And when they looked at the whole 12-month period between February 20th, 2020 and February 2021 compared to the 12-month period before, it was down around the same numbers.
Down?
So people down, meaning bankruptcies are down, insolvencies are down, people are not in trouble, and that people have money and that they're not filing for consumer protection and stuff like that. That's what's going on out there. So I know it seems like all this, oh my gosh, but there's $130 billion in businesses accounts. CIBC said last year we had $90 billion in savings in consumers accounts. People have money.
Can we question this just for a moment?
People have money.
People have money.
I know that there's industries affected, and people cringe when I say, what about these people? What about that?
No.
Yes,
so hold on a
but
second.
it's a very narrow market. It's very steep in those areas because obviously they've been decimated. Oil, gas, travel, tourism.
But that means
food,
that
hospitality.
other businesses that normally would have gone bankrupt didn't?
Yes.
So what does that mean about those businesses? That they're better all of a sudden?
Either they had a sharp turnaround,
or they were given a whole bunch of free money by the government.
Or the government was giving them free money.
So they're coming. Is that the point here?
$46 billion in CEBA, the business account loan.
So, but is that what you're getting to?
billion.
Is that they're going to start going bankrupt soon because they will have to like do business again?
Well, so this is what I'm saying is in order for the market to crash, there have to be a whole bunch of sellers who are forced to sell and saying, oh my gosh, I can't make it any longer and I need to sell because I'm so much in debt, right? Otherwise, they're just going to hang on if they can't get the same price that their neighbor just got. You just talked about 19 years it's going to take for the soft landing of the bubble. That's where this thought came from, right? So how long would it take for our bankruptcies to have a huge turnaround? So if there's a crash coming, it's not coming this year. I can promise you that. It's not coming this year.
No.
It's going to take a long time for people to start to get underwater. Power of sales proceedings, all that kind of stuff. It takes a long time.
But if
you're thinking about buying and waiting this year to the crash, it may be already too late. But you have to get it.
If people didn't go bankrupt in the last 12 months and those actually went down, like how can there be a crash? What the hell's going to crash the thing?
Well, that's what I mean. But I don't know what's going to happen next year. We could have another, this virus may not go away. But in this year, 2021, things are looking good.
But virus equals crazy bull real estate market.
Not in March and April 2020.
No.
Right? So these new measures. Stephen, what do you think about the new measures?
What new measures?
New restrictions that we were put under?
Yeah.
Is it
all the measures?
Is this lockdown 3 still, or is it like 3.1?
At this point, I feel like we've all kind of lost our minds. Regardless of what wave it's under. From what I've heard, we're the worst lockdown city in North America, which is quite interesting. And there's certainly a lot of restrictions that I feel do not make sense, but we're under higher authorities here, so I'm not really sure what can be said about it. But like you mentioned, it's the virus situation does not seem to impact current real estate prices and trends, and yeah, it's certainly a guessing game in terms of where we go from here.
What are you gonna guess? If you had to guess, what would you guess from here to the end of this calendar year? What would you say is going to happen in Toronto real estate? I'm not an expert on that, but I think we're going to be seeing at least prices that are going to be comparable to where they are now, if not maybe a bit higher. I believe interest rates are certainly a driving factor that may have an impact on where prices go. But in terms of the situation with COVID and going back to work, I believe that hopefully by year's end we'll be seeing some return to normalcy.
That's a good answer. I think that's a very accurate, safe answer, but that's a good answer to have to the situation.
TK, what do you think?
How are people socializing in your generation right now? What?
Yeah, so I guess the primary way that I've been interacting with friends is through outdoor activities like tennis, for example. I'm a tennis player, but now that that's been shuttered by the restrictions, it's certainly been, I think, frustrating for more than a few people.
Outdoor tennis is closed. Like
you guys are too close together.
Even in like singles.
Yeah, I mean, tennis is a pretty socially distant sport, COVID or otherwise. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, golf too, the same thing. It's like, what? What do you mean? That should be like they should just say, listen, guys, you can go and walk the dog, you can go and play tennis, and you can go and play golf. That's it. We don't want to see you outside the house for any other reasons because those are safe,
This is crazyville.
right? I think they're safe. I think they're all. What about things like digitally? Digitally, so your friends, have you guys done anything? Like, is it through maybe, like I know video games, they've got a lot of chat. That's how my son plays with his friends, whatever you want to say. Um, more texting, video calls, Zoom calls. Like, is there anything like Darryl and I at our generation having a Zoom social gathering is now ordinary? It can happen if you need to, family and friends.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know a lot of people have been doing online Zoom calls, online chess, things to that extent to maintain some level of sanity.
Talking, just talking, like you'll be
Oh yeah, people
like voice
load
to
up
voice.
Discord as well, which is popular audio. I believe
Yep.
they have video functionality as well, but these are just some ways that people have been connecting.
That's a good way to do
What
it.
about VR? Are you into VR at all?
No, it's not. I don't think it's something I've tried yet.
Too bad. I was in VR
That's
yesterday
coming.
playing this crazy game with these kids. They're all crap talking me the whole time and like bullying me. It was great. It's unbelievable though.
Did they know that you were like 3 times their age?
Well, if I don't know. I mean, listen, Aiden, my son's voice is deeper than mine. He's 14. I don't know who he's talking
Yeah.
to and what they're thinking.
So they just noticed that you were bad
I
at the
mean-
game because they were probably a lot better than you,
Well,
right?
and I mean, my voice is. I mean, they sounded like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were very young kids, but I would have thought that would have maybe caught on more with the younger generation. But I guess
You have to
not.
have the equipment though; it's expensive.
It is definitely expensive.
Yeah.
So what else is going on in the news here? So we have what about this stuff here with Adam Vaughn? You know who Adam Vaughn is? He's like the
Counselor.
I think he's some kind of real estate minister. I don't know what the hell he is. But he's got something to do with Canadian real estate, and he seems to be an up and up, and he's ticking everybody off. But basically, he's looking at the real estate market the way it actually is, and it's a asset market. Like he's saying, it's maybe not good for locals, but it's great for foreign investors. Like we have a very stable, safe market here. It's a hard asset. Our banking system is pretty good, and people want it, and it's cheap compared to other cities that are equivalent. And he's like, well, sorry, locals, like you're going to have to move to the suburbs, but, people are going to come and buy all this overpriced stuff you're complaining about. I think that's kind of interesting, no?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, we had a show, Stephen, about a couple weeks ago where it was a hot topic about who was buying real estate and who wasn't buying real estate. And the foreign buyer representation is much lower than what people think. I'm sure in the pre-construction condo, it's way higher than it is in the low-rise resale market. Like, no doubt about it, right? But as far as what we're seeing here is we have a huge demand from locals. Like people need the house is so important. We're renaming the master bedroom to the primary bedroom because master just it wasn't significant enough. It's like, no, that's where you go. People are at home and they're figuring if I'm going to be at home for 24 hours a day now and I'm not going anywhere, I want to have the space that I need throughout the entire home that's necessary. I met a guy a week ago who talked about moving and like it was about a $600,000 to $800,000 cost for him to move because he, more expensive home, fees, taxes, moving costs, job, all the interruption, all that kind of stuff. $600,000 to $800,000, and the wish list was like not much more than like, private home office space. Like it really wasn't much more than that. I was like, really? Like you can build an addition on the back of your house that it could be the most state-of-the-art office you've ever seen, right? So people are really, really, really stressed about their I guess contentment at home. They want to feel like, okay, if I'm gonna be working from home, I want to feel like I'm in a space that makes sense, that I'm motivated, that I'm happy, and they're willing to roll out the bankroll to make it happen, right?
Like, what jobs can't you do from home?
Garbage collector.
Yeah, that would suck from home.
I do that Monday night still.
That would suck from
Tuesday
home.
mornings pick up. Yeah.
Well, it is definitely a super fast changing world. We've got Steven here documenting it as best he can in our fair city here. We thank you for joining us today, Mr. Valasco. It was a pleasure
Very,
to get
very
to know
awesome.
you.
You've got a lot of talent.
Big fan.
I wish I was smart enough to be like, hey, this is
Big fan.
this is what this is going to, work for developers, and this is how things are going to go for you. But I know that if you keep doing it, I'm a firm believer in that. If somebody really becomes the expert in one particular field and has information that nobody else has, it's going to be useful, and that there's going to be a business, because I'm sure in the back of your head there's a business motivation behind all this too. Obviously there's passion since you were young, but I'm sure that in the back of your head you're thinking, this is something that's really unique, and if I continue to put the energy that I've been putting in, it's going to work out. And I definitely believe that that's the case for you for sure.
Absolutely. Wonderful to see a young man doing so well and so knowledgeable. I think it's actually an interesting testament that the fact that you have no planning or development background or anything, that you've figured all of this out on your own. I think it should give people, a little bit of confidence that if you just want something enough, you can go out there, figure it out. All this information that you have learned is online. I don't think you had to do too much crazy digging to figure any of this out. I know that from experience as well. So 2 out of 3 people here have not been educated, know the Planning Act better than probably most planners. And this is possible, especially in today's day and age, right? So congratulations.
Sorry, Stephen, can you do a little shameless plug again, just on all your social media and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I guess thanks again, Darryl and TK for having me on. So yeah, if you're a real estate professional, a developer, architect, or planner, and you want to work with me or license some of my work, you can get my contact details on my website. It's www.stevenvelasco.com. And aside from that, yeah, give me a follow on Twitter at FutureModelTO.
Awesome. There's his website on the screen.
We appreciate it.
You guys couldn't see it, but they could. Thank you very much for joining us for a lovely Sunday morning discussion about real estate. Thanks to everybody out there watching. As always, not that you're still watching at this point in time, but the 3 of you that are, thanks. Make sure you hit that like button. All right, cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.